Hey everyone, I'm here in Rome, Georgia, more specifically Myrtle Hill Cemetery. This cemetery has about 20,000 graves, and it's the final resting place of doctors, politicians, football heroes, soldiers, and a former First Lady. So follow me, let's check this place out, and let's see what it's all about. As you see, Myrtle Hill Cemetery is on a very steep hill. One reason because of that is Rome was notorious for flooding. And Rome has a very large river running right through it. And last night, we got some pretty bad thunderstorms, and the river is pretty high right now. And walking. This does not do it any justice of how steep this hill is. We still have not made it to the top. Got a ways to go. This grave is actually really interesting, and I had no idea that such people were buried here. But if you're a fan of the Doors, this is actually the grave of Jim Morrison's paternal grandparents. Robert Bruce Morrison and Savannah Reap Morrison. Some of these graves in each section is designated for families, and you can see a lot of these are fairly older graves, born in the 1800s, died in 50s or 60s. But over here we have one that passed away in 1991. But even under that, someone is expected to be buried. And over here is a porcupine. Is that a porcupine or is that a hedgehog? I don't know. Do you see it? Maybe right there? I don't know. You tell me. Some of these graves are just overwhelming with the stonework. I mean, this is beautiful, but also spooky. I mean, that is just spooky, but also amazing. These graves are pretty hard to make out, but the ones with the little baby angels on them, those are actually kids. Well, younger than kids, more like infants. The only one that I can really make out is this one right here, and it says that they died when they were 6 months old. Something you don't necessarily see on the more recent headstones is the age that they died. This person lived to be 40 years old, died in 1901. You want to think that Henry had some sort of sense of humor erecting pretty much the largest headstone in the cemetery, and being very proud of the last name Dick. D's are all around this headstone. I guess he wanted to make sure his could be seen from far away. Kudos to you, Henry Dick. A part of me just really wants the people that did this to come out here and do it again so they can get caught. It's fairly recent, 2020. And that was definitely a groundhog I saw earlier. Don't want to look too far in there, but I'm pretty sure he's made a home. Maybe a not so known grave, but this is the grave of James P. Mooney, who was a Rome police officer. And what's interesting about this one is James was the first Rome police officer killed in the line of duty. Now, we're specifically here mainly to see one of the final resting places of the First Lady, but this one kind of sticks out because you can just kind of see how nature is really taken over and how rough of shape this cemetery is in. It looks like the tree is just completely taken over this grave, and it's beginning to crack at the bottom. In almost all cases, nature is going to take over in some way or another. You do see a lot of spouses sharing the same headstone. I don't think Daisy Gammon is still alive, being born in 1886. Either she's not here, or whoever was in charge of etching her death date was lazy. And just behind the grave of Jim Morrison's grandparents are the parents of Martha Berry. If you know Berry College, you would know who Martha Berry is. She was head of the Berry College for Girls. A very influential person in the city of Rome, Georgia. She is not buried here. Not exactly sure where she is, but she's not buried at the Myrtle Hill Cemetery. Each time I find a grave, I think, this is the most interesting grave here. This one might actually top them all. This is the grave of Nell Allison Wyatt and her friend, Human Bunny. On Nell's 8th birthday, her parents gave her a stuffed bunny rabbit. She kept that bunny her entire life. When she passed away, her family thought that she should be buried with her oldest friend. And that's why they gave her a headstone with 2 names with the same date of death. Now, if you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan, this is probably one of the more significant graves. This is a super interesting story. This is the grave of Richard von Albade Gammon. Now, Richard played for the University of Georgia in the late 1890s. Richard played both sides of the ball, which was very common during this time, and he died on October 31st, 1897. What's interesting about this is UGA had a game that day against Virginia. Both teams were equal in now the Southeastern Conference, the SEC. So both had big runnings for winning the SEC title. Von Albade was on defense, or Richard was on defense, and he dove into a pile, hitting Virginia's right tackle. Once the pile cleared up, he laid there motionless. 2 doctors came to his aid and determined that he had a severe concussion. While he was laying there, he was on his feet in a few minutes. However, he was being taken off the field by Coach McCarthy. When Captain and later Judge William B. Kent, not realizing how badly it hurt him, he said, "Vaughn, you're not going to give up, are you?" "No, Bill," he replied. "I've got too much Georgia grit for that." Those were the last words he ever spoke upon reaching the sideline. He lapsed into unconsciousness. They rushed him to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. Gammon died in the early morning hours of October 31st, 1897. This almost ended the football programs in Georgia. Legislature was in session at the time, and public opinion caused them to pass a bill to ban the sport of football. The bill would have ended football programs for Georgia and Georgia Tech and even Mercer. The bill only needed the signature of Governor William Yates Atkinson. Then it would become law. What's crazy about this is his mother, Rosalind Burns Gammon, wrote a letter to her representative, who she basically said that just because of her son's death, they should not end football in Georgia. She was sad about the death of her son, but she later explained in her letter that she had friends that had died in rock climbing and skating incidents, but they had not ended those programs. Richard is buried right next to his mother, Rosalind Gammon. She died not too long after him. She died in 1904. They're both buried under this magnolia tree. It's a very interesting story. No, I didn't explain all the details, but I'm sure a lot of UGA fans are aware of this person. Way over there we can see the grave that we pretty much came here for. Right there. This is the grave of Ellen Axon Wilson, first wife of 28th President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson. Ellen was born in Savannah, Georgia, May 15, 1860. She moved to Rome, Georgia in March of 1866, where she graduated from Rome Female College in 1876. You can see here it says, "Sacred to the memory of Ellen Louise Axon, beloved wife of Woodrow Wilson, born in 1860 in Savannah, Georgia. She died in 1914 in Washington, D.C. This was the first wife of Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson would later go on to have a second marriage. That may be some of the reasons why he is not buried with, or why she is not buried with him, I will say, because presidents don't normally just have a grave in local cemeteries. But Woodrow Wilson did attend her funeral, so I can just imagine having a president come to Rome, Georgia. It's an exciting thing, but for the reasons why he came is not so exciting. So, as a citizen of Rome, you don't necessarily know how to handle that, because you would be somewhat starstruck. I think for fairly obvious reasons, somewhat unfortunate though, this is very well kept up. It's freshly mowed. The other places it gets a little dicey, and it's not kept up at all. But I guess it is what it is, unfortunately. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If there are any other places you want to see me document, leave a comment in the comment section. And if you want to see all the other places I've gone to, check out the link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone.